This video is sponsored by Brilliant. If you're learning Python, you should solve automation projects. This won't only help you automate your everyday tasks, but by solving them, you'll apply the Python concepts you learned so far. And this is what we'll do in this video. We'll solve 3 beginner projects from scratch. So let's start with the first project. Okay, this automation problem consists in creating multiple folders for each month of the year. So here I have the year 2022, and we're going to create folders from January to December. So we're going to create all of these folders using Python, and inside of each month we have days. So we have random days that we have to create also using Python. Alright, we're going to learn how to create folders using the pathlib module. So first I'm going to import path from pathlib. So I write from pathlib import path. And then we have to create a path object. So I write path, and here we specify the name of the folder we want to create. So in this case, I'm going to create a folder named new_folder. And to create this folder, because right now we only have the object, so to create the folder, we have to use the mkdir method. So I write mkdir and open parentheses, and this stands for make directory. So with this, we're going to create this new folder. And before we run this code, I'm going to show you here my current working directory. So I'm here on the left, I'm in the tutorial folder, and here I don't have this new folder. But if I run here this script, we're going to see that we have a folder named new_folder, and well, we created this with this line of code. Great. So with this, we learned how to create a new folder. And now let's see what happens if we run this again. So let's say we want to create a new folder and we run this again, and here I run, and as you can see, we got an error message, and it's telling us that the file already exists, which is true because we already have this file. So if we want to avoid that error message, we have to add a new parameter. So I duplicated this line of code, and here I add the exist OK parameter and set it equal to true. So if we run this right now, we're going to see that we're not going to create this new folder because this one already exists. But what we're avoiding here is the error message. So as you can see, we didn't get any error message. And this is very important in case you have a long script and you don't want your script to break because of this line of code. So this is an important parameter that you have to add in case you're not sure whether this folder exists. So great. So right now we know how to create a single folder. So now let's see how to create multiple folders. And the idea is the same. We only need to add some extra parameters. Okay, now let's say we want to create multiple subfolders. So we write path, and now I'm gonna create this new folder again. And inside this new folder, I'm gonna create 2 subfolders. So the first one is gonna be new_subfolder, and the second one is gonna be new_subfolder. So here I have 2 subfolders. And what we're going to do to create all of these folders is to use the make dir. So I write mkdir, so make directory, and then I have to add the parents parameter. So I write parents equal to, and here I set this equal to true. So with this, we're going to create not only one, but all the folders that you see here. So if there is any missing folder, because right now, as you might remember, we only have this new_folder. So these 2 folders are missing. So if we have any missing folder, we're going to create them thanks to this parent equal true. Okay, now to avoid any error message in case this path already exists, we're going to use the exist_OK parameter. So I set this equal to true, and well, with this is ready. I just forgot to add here the S, so it's not parent but parents. So it was just a typo. I added the S, and well, now this is ready. So with this, we're gonna create all the folders that you see here, so all the subdirectories. So Now I'm going to run this, but before I'm going to show you my current working directory. So I have this tutorial folder and inside is this new underscore folder. So I only have this one, and now we're going to create these two folders. So now I run this code, but first I'm going to comment this out. So now I run this code and let's see the results. So now I have this new underscore folder and inside is new underscore subfolder and well, new underscore subfolder. And great. With this, we learned how to create single folders and also multiple folders. All right, now it's time to put everything we learned into practice by solving an automation problem. Alright, as I mentioned before, this project consists in creating folders for each month of the year, and then we're going to create some random days for each month, and we're going to automate this with Python. And to do this with Python, we have first to import calendar. So I write import calendar, and this helps me get the names of the months. So here I write calendar, that month, underscore, and then name. So here I write month underscore name, and then I'm going to pick from element 1 to the last element. So this indicates that I want from January to the last element. So now I'm gonna make this a list, and here I'm gonna print it so you can see the values. So print this, and then I run, and you can see I have from January to December. So great. Now I have the month of the year. So I write month underscore names, and this is my variable. So now I have this list, and now I have to create some days of the month. So now I write days variable, and here I open a list. So here I'm gonna create manually some days of the month. You can do it as well, or you can use a for loop. So here first I'm gonna show you fast the days that I'm gonna use for this example. So here I'm gonna create 4 days. So day 1, day 10, then day 20, and day 30. So in a month we have 31 days usually, or 30 days. And here, instead of creating each day manually, you can use a for loop and create it faster, but only if you need to create a folder for each day of the month. In my case, I'm going to simplify this, and I'm going to create just 5 days, and these are the days. Great. Now to manipulate folders using Python, we have to use the path library. So here we write from pathlib import path. So with path, we can create new folders or rename the name of the folder and do a lot more. So here I write path, and we can, for example, create a simple folder named 2022. And then inside this folder, we can create another folder named January, for example. So here to create this, we only have to use mkdir, which stands for make directories. And inside this, we have to introduce some parameters. So first, parents, because here I'm saying that 2022 is the parent of January. So I'm including one parent. So here I write true. And here I'm gonna add another parameter, which is exists okay. And I'm gonna set it equal to true. And thanks to this parameter, the code won't break even if there is already a folder with the name 2022 or January. So that's what exists okay is for. So now to try this out, I'm gonna right click and run this and see the results here on the left. So as you can see, I have a new folder named 2022, and inside this folder, I have January. So that's great. That's what we wanted. We created these two folders. But now let's create all the folders for all the months and all the days. So to do that, first we use a for loop. So we write for first month, let's say, and then in month names. So here I write this, and here I'm gonna add enumerate. So I write enumerate to get not only the names of the month, but also the numbers. And I'm going to show you why I'm doing this in some seconds. So here I'm using enumerate. So here I add also the iteration. So with this, we're iterating through the month names list. And what I'm going to do now is to iterate through this days list. So here for day, in days, and here I add colon. And now I'm going to put this path inside this for loop. Great. Now, instead of just creating these two folders, I can include these two variables. So I not only create two folders, but multiple folders. So I write F, and this is an F string, and it's going to help me include these two variables easily. So here I write 2022 because this is the parent, and now I open these curly braces to introduce a variable. And here I'm going to use the I, which represents the number of the iteration, and here +1. And I do +1 because enumerate will start with 0. And I want this to start with 1 because I want January with 1 and December with 12. So that's why I use I +1. And now I add a dot, and here I open again these curly braces, and here I add this this month. So here I have the month, and now I add this slash, and now finally we add the day. But first, of course, we add curly braces. So with this, we have the year, and then we have the number of the month and also the month. And here I have the day. Great. Now let's test this out. So I right click and run this script. So now let's see the results. So here on the left, you can see that I have 2022. And also I have these 12 folders from January to December. So I open any of them and I have day 1, day 10, day 20, and day 30. So that's exactly what we wanted. You can check any other folder and you will see the same results. Alright, before we continue with the next Python project, remember that to keep improving your Python skills, something as important as solving projects is to learn to think like a programmer. And an app that helps me with this is Brilliant.org, which is the sponsor of this video. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and AI. Brilliant is an effective learning platform with content crafted by an award-winning team of professionals from Microsoft, Google, and more. Each lesson is filled with hands-on problem-solving that lets you play with concepts, which is a method proven to be 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. Brilliant has a section dedicated to Python. It will teach you key code concepts such as loops, variables, nested, and conditionals, allow you to start building programs on day 1 with a built-in drag-and-drop editor, and most importantly, develop your mind to think like a programmer, which is better than just memorizing programming concepts. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 3 days, visit brilliant.org/thepycoach or click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and now let's continue with the next project. In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate the generation of Word documents by extracting data from an Excel file and putting this data into a Word document. In this project, we're going to create a document for each row that we have here on the table on the left. And for this simple example, we'll generate 10 cover letters using a library called docxtpl and of course Python. So let's get started. Okay, to start with this tutorial, we have to install a library called docxtpl. This library is going to help us generate multiple Word documents using Python. So we open up the terminal and then we write the following: pip install, and then we write docxtpl. Then we press enter, and with this we install this library. Then what we have to do is import the library. And to do this, to do it very fast, we have to go to the documentation and copy this code snippet. I'm going to copy this one, and now I'm going to explain you what this code means. So first we import a docx template from the library that we just installed, which is docxtpl. And after that, we have to read the template that we have. In this case, I have a template here on the right that I showed you before. This is a template I downloaded, and we're going to use this template. You can use your own template, but you can also download this template in the description. Then what we have to do first is change the name of this template. So I'm gonna change, and here is just name as template.docx. So first we read the template, and then we have to indicate which elements we want to replace. So to do this, we have to go to our template, and each element we want to replace, we have to delete it and then open double curly braces with a variable. For example, here, I don't want this number to be here, so I want to insert a variable. So I write double curly braces, and then what we have to do is write the name of the variable. So for example here, company name, just as an example. I pasted company name, and this is what we're going to replace. In this case, instead of company name, we write the name of this company, which is World Company. So that's what we will replace. And I'm not going to bore you doing this one by one, but what I'm going to do is open another template I have here, but with those changes that I've done. So I'm going to open this one called template-my-info. And basically what I did here is what I was showing you before. So in this data that we're going to introduce first, I put the variables my phone, and then, for example, my email, and then my address. So I'm going to zoom here so you can see much better. My phone is this one, my email is this one, and my address is this one. So basically I'm just adding the variables that are going to be here on the left as keys in my dictionary, and I did it one by one. So you can do it on your own, or you can also use my template. So I change also the date here, and then I put my name at the end. So here is with this name that was by default, but I put here as a variable. So let's change this on the left. But before I do that, here, after we do that, we have to render and then to save this in another file. So now let's change the content inside this dictionary. First, we have to create some variables, and I'm going to create one variable for each element that I have here in curly braces. So my phone, my email, my address, and so on. So I'm going to copy one by one, and you can do the same. Now I copied each element one by one, and I created one variable for each of them. You don't have to name it as the name here on the right. This name and this variable name can be different, but well, I just copied and pasted here. Now we have to put our own information. For example, in my name, I'm going to put my own name, Frank Andrade, and then we can fill all this information. I've just completed all this information, and now in the part where we have to put the date, we're going to use a library called datetime. Actually, it's the datetime module, and we have to write from datetime import datetime. And now we have to use a method called today to get today's date. So I write today, and then with this we got the current day. And then to transform this time data into a string, we have to use a method called strftime. And this one has a particular syntax that we have to follow. So for example, if I want to extract that day, I have to write %d, and with this we extract the day. Then for the month we have to write %b, and for the year we write %y. And here, as you can see, I added this comma just to give a format to this date, and you're gonna see it later. So once we have this, we have to introduce each variable to our dictionary. So here I'm gonna delete this because I'm not gonna use it. Okay, I finished the dictionary, and as you can see here on the left is the name of the key. And this name of the key has to be exactly the same as the name that we see here inside curly braces. So for example, my phone inside curly braces should be the same as this one, my phone. This cannot be different. But the value here on the right, this one can be different. So this is a variable I created, and well, this one represents my name. This one can be different. We're not gonna get any issue if we name it differently. So just make sure that the name of the key is exactly the same as this one here on each value that is inside curly braces. So with that being said, I'm gonna run this and see the results. So now I right click and run this, and now I'm gonna close one of them. So I'm gonna close this one, put this on the left, and I'm gonna open the document generated with Python. So now I put this on the right, and here I didn't get the results I wanted because here on the left here I didn't put that template I was going to use. So this template that is named template-my-info is not here. So I'm gonna put it here, template-my-info. So now before I run this, I'm gonna close this one that I created by mistake. And now I'm gonna run and see the results. So I run this one, everything is correct. And now I'm gonna open this one. And now it should have my name. Yes. Now it has my fake email, my fake phone number, and my fake address. So now we have also the date. That's today's date. And also here I have the name, actually the number and the email. And at the end is my name. So these parts were replaced by our variables. And that's what we wanted. Great, with this we learned how to replace data in a Word file. Okay, so far we put our data into this Word document. But now, what if we want to introduce fake data into this cover letter? So for example, we want to generate like 10 cover letters to send to 10 different companies. So each company is going to have a different hiring manager, a different address, a different phone number, a different email, and so on. So if we want to introduce data that is going to change, now we have to do something different. First, we have to extract data from an Excel file. For example, here on the left, I have an Excel file that has fake data. So for example, we have 10 rows and we can introduce this data into Word. First, we have to extract the data in each row and then we have to put it into this cover letter. So let's imagine that each row belongs to a different company. So this is like the different hiring manager. So it has a different email address and well, the job position is different and the company is different. So this is perfect. With this simple table, we can have a good idea on how to deal with this. So now let's do this. So first, what we have to do is read this Excel file. So to read this Excel file, we're going to use a library called pandas. So first I write import pandas as PD. And now if you don't have this library, you only have to open up the terminal and then write pip install pandas. So once you have this library installed, we have to read this Excel file. And to do that, we write pd.read_csv, and then you have to write the name of this library. In this case, actually the name of this file, fake_data. So this is the name of my CSV file. And now I write df equal to, and this df represents that data frame. So this data frame is basically the table that I have here. So all the 11 or 10 rows that I have here. So now what we have to do is read each row of this table or data frame. And to do that, I'm going to use a method called either_rows. So I write df.either_rows, and this method allows me to iterate through each row of the table. And to do that, I have to create a for loop. So I write for index, comma row in this. And with this, we iterate through each row. And to give you an example, I'm going to print the index, and then I'm going to print each row. So now I'm going to comment this out so I don't have this document generated. And now I'm going to run this and see what's going to happen. So here I scroll up and we see that the first element is 0. So in Python, the index starts with 0 and this represents the first element. And then we have row, which is the row that we have here. So for example, Mary Sherman is here. This is our first row. Then we have her email, then address, job, and so on. Then the second row is represented by index 1. In this case, is John Bell. And you can see here that it matches with this data. So we can see that we have all the rows. And now what we have to do is to put each element of the row into our dictionary. So now I'm going to delete this. And now I'm going to create a dictionary named context. And just to make it different from the other I have here, I'm going to name the other as my_context. So we avoid repetition in the name of the dictionaries. So now that we have different names, I'm going to create a key for each element that I have here. Actually, this is not the template I'm going to use. The one I'm going to use is here, is another file that I created. So is this one, manager-info, and I'm going to put it here. So as you can see, I added some elements. So before we had this, and now we have this. So instead of this data that was by default, I put this data or this variable inside these curly braces. So we can only copy and paste it. So for example, I'm going to copy this one and put it inside the keys. And then we have only to duplicate and introduce the others. So I'm going to copy and paste it one by one. All right, I finished with each key of this dictionary. And now I only have to introduce each element of the data frame I had before. So to do that, I have to use the row here. So I write row and then I open these square brackets. And then inside the square brackets, I'm gonna write the name of each column. For example, in this one, I'm gonna write the column name, which is the first one. So I copy the name of the column and now I pasted it. And I'm gonna follow the same idea for the remaining elements that I have here. Okay, now I completed each value of this dictionary. For example, here in address, I just put row and inside the square brackets address, because here is the name. And for example, for company, I put it here, company, and here the name of the key is company_name. Well, the column in this table has a different name, and that's perfectly fine. So now that we completed this dictionary, we have to combine this dictionary that we just created with the first dictionary that we had here with our personal data. So now let's put them together. So now I have to use the update method. So I use, first I write context, then update, and we have to write the name of our first dictionary. And what this method does is add this second dictionary to this context dictionary. So all the values that are into this my_context dictionary is going to be into the context dictionary. That's how it works. And to finish this, I'm going to uncomment this code that we have before, and I'm going to put it inside this for loop. And with this, we're going to generate a Word document for each element that we have in this table. So we have 10 rows, and we're going to generate 10 Word documents. And here to generate Word documents with different names, I'm going to use the F string. And here I'm going to use this index just to have something like generated _doc_0 and then 1 and then until 10, or actually 9, because there are 10 elements. So we're going to generate 10 Word documents, and let's do this. So I'm going to right click and run this script. So now everything was successful, and now I go to the right, and now I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to close both of them, and we should have 10 elements generated. So I have here from 0 to 9, and well, yeah, we have 10 elements. So now I'm going to open any of them, and let's see the results. So here I have 1, and here didn't get the results I expected because we're not using the template I was planning to use, which was this one I showed you before with all these variables inside these curly braces. So I'm going to copy and paste the name of this template, which by the way, you can find also in the description of this video. So I'm going to paste this template, which is named template-manager-info, because in this one, we're going to put also the info of the manager, which is generated here. So with that said, I'm gonna delete these 9 documents generated by mistake, and now I'm gonna close this one and run this script again. So now we should have these 10 documents. I'm gonna open one of them, and now we see all the data that was introduced correctly. First, my personal data, then the fake data. For example, this is a fake job position, a speech and language therapist. Then we have the fake data about the hiring manager. We have the name, we have the address, the phone number, and also the email. And well, all of this text that includes the job position, the name of the company, and also more information. Well, this doesn't change and the rest changes. So now I'm going to open another one to see if it was correctly generated. And yeah, we see that we have another job position, administrator, civil service. And now let's read this. So for example, here it says, I'm thrilled to be writing to you to apply for this position that this company is advertising on LinkedIn. Then this text doesn't change, and well, please feel free to reach out to me at this fake phone number and this fake email, and here my name. So this is how you generate multiple cover letters that you can send to multiple companies. And that's it for this video. In this video, we learn how to generate multiple Word documents using Python. Probably one of the most boring tasks on the internet is to fill in forms. Nowadays, everyone wants to get some data from you. So to create a new account, participate in a giveaway, or get a free ebook, you need to fill in your information in a form. This isn't a big deal if you do this once, but things get tedious when you have to repeat the same steps over and over again. So the best solution here is to automate it with Python. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to automatically fill in fake data using Python. So let's get started. Alright, in this video, I'm not going to delve into the basics. Actually, here I have a code that we usually use to start working with Selenium. But in case you don't know so much about Selenium, I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can start with the basics. Alright, to start working with Selenium, first we have to install it. So you open up a terminal and then you write pip install Selenium in case you don't have it installed already. Well, after you install this library, we need to start working with it. And well, I have the code to start working with Selenium, and here first we need to introduce a path. And this path refers to the Chrome driver, which we have to download. And to download, we go to this website and we choose the version that corresponds to our version of Google Chrome. And well, once you have that path, you paste the path of this Chrome driver. And in this case, I'm going to copy and paste it. So this is my path. You have to introduce the path where your Chrome driver is located. And then we have to introduce the website that we're going to automate. So in this case, I'm going to use Google Forms. So you only go to Google Forms, and then we have to use a template. So in this case, I'm going to use this template called contact information. So I click on it, and this template basically gives you the typical information you have to fill in a form. So the name, the email, phone number, address, and more. And here, first we're going to settings to set up this form, and we go to responses. So we open up this one, and then we have to make sure this button that is in green now, we have to deactivate this. So we disable this and we click on it, and we do that because we don't want to limit this to one response. So we want to introduce as many responses as we want. So when we automate, we can introduce many responses. And after we do that, we click on send here, this button, and then we click on the link button, and then we have to make sure we get the shortened URL. So we click here, and then we copy this URL, and then we paste it right here. So here I'm gonna add quotes, and now we're gonna continue with the typical workflow that we use with Selenium. So here I'm gonna use driver.get to get the website. So I introduce here website inside parentheses, and with this we can open this website. So now I'm going to this website, so I'm gonna copy and then I'm gonna paste it here in this website. So we can see the website in view mode. Here before we had the website in edit mode, but we need to have this website in view mode to inspect it. So here now I'm gonna inspect the website. So I right click and now I click on inspect. And well, now we can see all the HTML document. And well, now we can inspect this rectangle that represents the whole field. So I'm gonna click on this rectangle and now we have this element highlighted in blue. So I don't want this element. Actually, the element I want is this one. And why I want this element is because we have here the name of this field, which in this case is name. If we check the other fields, we're going to see that this element that has div, or actually the attribute data-params, is also in the other rectangle. So I'm going to inspect the email field now, and we see that this data-params has the email here in the value. So this name is going to help me identify each field. So that's why I'm choosing that element. So now I'm going back to this element here with the name value. And now I'm going to create the XPath. So to create the XPath, we press Control F, or actually Command F on a Mac. And then we have to create the XPath. So now I'm going to use the data-params and the div as a tag. So to do this, I'm going to write /div, then I open square brackets, then I write @ then data-params, because that was the name of the attribute. And after we do that, we have to use the contains function. So I write here contains, and then I open parentheses. And this is basically the syntax that uses the contains function. Then I write comma, and here I write the word name. So here I write name, and well, now we have this element. So we successfully created this XPath. Great. Now what we have to do is to get to this value here, where is that your answer placeholder. So I'm going to inspect that that field. I'm gonna click here, and we see that this field is it has the input tag. And something that we have to keep in mind is that this element input is inside the other element that is in green. So this element in green is the element that we created the XPath. So what we can do here, instead of creating the whole XPath of this input element, we can just write / and then write input. So with this, we find a child element inside the rectangle. And well, in this case, we find the input element. So now I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here so we don't lose it. I paste it here, the XPath, and now we go back here. And something I want to show you now is that there is a different pattern in the different fields. So here in the first field, in the name field, we had input here in the your answer placeholder. But if we go here to email, well, we're gonna see that it's still with the input tag. But if we go now to address, we're gonna see that here is text area instead of input. And then if we go to phone number, we see input, and finally in comments, I think there is text area. So in some cases there is text area, and in some other cases there is input here. So what we can do is use both XPath. So I'm going to show you here. First, I'm going to show you how to get to email. So first, if we write here email instead of name, we should get to that element. Well, in this case, we get that email field because email uses input here. But if we write now address, we don't get anything. And that's because we don't use input in address, but we use address has that text area. So I write text area, and now we get to this your answer placeholder. So now I'm going to copy this. I go back here, I comment, and well, as you can see, some elements has the input and some elements has the text area element. So what I'm going to do here is use the OR operator, and this allows me to use both options. So now I'm going to use here address here in both, so we have the same field, and here we're joining the two XPath with the OR operator. All right, now it's time to locate these elements with the driver that we created before. So now I write driver.find element, and then I write by equal to, and then here XPath, and the second parameter is value equal to, and here we introduce the XPath that we created before. So now I put them together, and then, well, I write these quotes, then I put it inside, well, equal to value. And now we have the XPath. And now this is a long XPath, so I'm gonna press enter here. So we divide the XPath, and now we can see it much better. Okay, now that we have this element, actually I'm gonna name it, and I'm gonna name it as text underscore input. And now I'm gonna organize this again, and now, well, now everything's fine. So now that we have this text underscore input, I'm gonna use the send keys method to send a text in this field that we have here. So now we located this text input, but now I'm gonna send text. I'm gonna send keys. So I write send underscore keys, and now we can introduce any value, like, for example, hello world. So with this, we send keys to this field, and now let's test it out. So I'm gonna right click and run this. So I right click, I run this, and hopefully everything's gonna be okay. But before I do that, I'm gonna add here a time, first a wait. And to do that, we have to use the time library. So I import time, and then I'm gonna add here a wait of, let's say, 3 seconds. So I write time.sleep 3. And with this, we let the website load its content properly. So now I'm gonna run this and see the results. So I run, and now a new window is open by Selenium, and now we should see the hello world message, and it's right here in address. So now we successfully introduced that text with Selenium, and everything is fine now. So now I'm going back here to PyCharm, and now that we have this, let's also click on this button, on the submit button. So now I'm gonna inspect this button, and I'm gonna create its XPath. So here I got an element, and now I'm gonna create this XPath using the word submit. So I inspect submit, and I'm gonna use this word submit, and also this element here that has the role and the button value. So I'm gonna delete the XPath that I had before, and now I'm gonna create one from scratch. So now I write /div, then add role, and then equal to button. This is basically the element that we had before. And well, we see here that we have 4 elements with the same XPath. Now let's navigate, and well, one of those elements is the green button, and it's actually this one. So here you see div, role, and button. Apparently there are other 3 elements with the same XPath, and that's why I need to use the submit word that is here. So now I continue, and I write /span, and then open square brackets, and then text, and then open these parentheses. So basically this is the text parameter, which is not here, but is actually there. So it's like invisible right now, but we can use it anytime we want, as long as we see that there is a text in the button, like in this case. So now we continue, and now I write equal to, and then open quotes, and we write submit. So submit. And now we see that we only found one element, and it's the element that we want. So now I copy this, and now we go back to PyCharm, and now let's use the driver to find this element. So I write driver, then find element, and then, well, again, we write by XPath, and then value, and then we paste the XPath. Okay, then what we have to do is give a name to this expression. In this case, I'm gonna name it submit underscore button, and then I'm gonna click on it. So to do that, I write that click. And finally, I'm gonna close the window, writing driver.quit. So with this, we close the window that Selenium opens. Great, with this, we're following all the steps to automate this website, but now we're only introducing one data. So in this case, we're introducing just the phrase hello world, but only on the field address. So what if we want to introduce data in all the fields? So in the phone number field, email field, and name field. And also, what if we want to introduce multiple forms? And to do that, we have to create fake data. And also we have to create here a for loop. So let's start with the fake data. Here I have a script that creates fake data. And basically here I'm using the faker library. And well, this is a very easy library to learn. I'm gonna walk you through the steps to create fake data very fast. First, we have to create a fake object, and then we have to generate fake profiles using the profile method. So in this case, I'm creating only 10 elements using this list comprehension, and then I'm storing these elements in a pandas data frame. And among this fake data, or actually in this profile, only the columns that we're going to use are the name, mail, and address. And this is because those are the fields that we're using here in this form. Then we have to create some other data with the phone number and the comments. In this case, the comment is simple, a hyphen that I'm putting here. You can introduce any text you want, but here I'm introducing just a hyphen. And the phone number, to create this, I'm using the phone number method to create phone numbers that are not real. Then I put this data inside pandas, and then I rename the columns. So these names match exactly the name that I have here in the form. So as you can see, I'm using the same names, and I do this because later I'm gonna use it here in this inside this XPath. So that's the reason why I'm renaming these columns. And finally, I export all this data into a CSV file. So actually, I'm gonna run this script to have this CSV file exported. So now I have this CSV file on the left, and is this fake underscore data.csv. And now I'm gonna read it here in this third script, and well, it's here. Here I'm using pandas to read this CSV file. And well, I'm reading this CSV file, and now I'm gonna print it. So I print df, and now we see its content. Alright, now what I want to show you is how to loop through the columns of this data frame, and also how to get all the elements of this data frame. So we can apply it later here in this in the main script that we created before. So in the script that we had before, we're going to create a for loop. But first, I'm going to show you the basics here in this data frame. So first, I want to show you how to get all the columns of this data frame. And to do that, we have to write df.columns, and to get all the elements, we have to loop through it. So I write for, let's say column in columns in df.columns. And now I'm gonna just print the column. And well, now I run this and we get all the column names. Actually, I'm gonna comment this out, the first one, and now I run this again, and I have the name of all the columns, which are actually the name of the fields that we have here. So the first step is done. So we have the name of the columns, and these names are gonna be here later, right here. Instead of writing address, we're gonna introduce all these names with a variable. Okay, now it's time to get the elements inside the data frame. So the elements are basically this. All these elements. So for example, this first row with all this data, then the second row. So basically we're going to iterate through the rows. And to do that, I need the length of this data frame. So I need the number of rows. And to get the number of rows, I'm going to use the length function. So here I'm going to start by writing length, open parentheses, df. So with this, we get the number of rows, which basically is 10. And now we have to iterate through this number of rows. And to do that, I'm going to use the for loop. So I write for I in this. Then I open this colon. And now I'm going to use the range function to get elements from 0 to the length of this data frame, which is 10. So now I put this inside, and basically what we're doing is iterating through the rows and then through the columns. So I'm doing this because I'm going to use a method called the log method, and this log method allows me to get the elements by its row and column. So first we have to write the name of the row, which is I. As you might remember, we're iterating through the row first, and then the name of the column, which is column. So we have this. This is the basic notation of the log method. And now I'm going to print this to see what we're doing here. So now I'm going to run this and see the results. So again, I'm going to comment this out, run again, and well, and as you can see here, this is a block. So we have a block of the first profile. So from name to comments is the first block, or the first fake profile. And then we have the second fake profile, and so on. So we have 10 fake profiles, and each of them we get it here in this for loop. So we get it one by one, and that's what we want, because we want to fill this form one by one. First the name, then the email, then the address, then press submit, and then fill the second form, and so on. So that's exactly what we're looking for. So now let's apply this for loop to the main script. Okay, now I'm gonna write the first for loop, which is the column in df columns, and well, I'm gonna comment this out, and I'm just gonna copy the parts that I'm gonna use. So first this for column in df that columns, and I'm gonna put this inside this for loop. And now the first thing I'm gonna do is replace this element address. So instead of address, I'm gonna write the name of the column. So here I'm gonna open an F string in each line, and now I open these curly braces. So instead of address, I'm gonna write the column variable. So I write column in each of them, and then I have to write here a text. And this text is gonna be the fake data that we created before. So to do that, I'm gonna write the other for loop, this one. And now, well, I write colon, and I put this for loop inside the other for loop. And well, now I'm gonna use this df.log that I showed you before. So instead of hello world, I use df.log, and well, here I have I. This is the name of the row, and column, which is the name of the column. And with this, we're introducing this data instead of just one simple message. So great, we've introduced the name of the column and also the data. And now I'm gonna put the submit button inside the for loop. So I'm gonna put it here. Now I delete this space, and well, now it's great. First we introduce the data, then we click on the submit button, and then we go to the next form. And actually here, we're still in the first form because we're not going to another website. So here, I'm gonna show you what I mean. I go back here, and I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna put just some fake data to make my point. So now I write this.com, and then, well, this is not necessary. And now I submit this. And after we do this, we go to this new page. And to go back to the website, or to go back to the form, we have to here introduce the link of the form. So we have to introduce this link. And to do that, here with Selenium, we have to put this driver.get website inside the for loop. So here, now we're going to this website again. So first, we go to the first website, we send this data, we click on submit, and then we go to the second form, which is the same website. And then we put again new data, and then we click on submit, and so on. And with this, we successfully fill all this data. Now I'm going to delete this, and we're ready to run this code. But before running this script, if your browser is not in English like mine, you have to change here this text. Instead of submit, you have to write the equivalent in your language. In my case, my browser is in Spanish, and that's why I'm gonna write this word, which means submit in Spanish. If your browser is in English, you don't have to change that part. So now we're ready to run this code. Okay, I right click and run this code, and let's see how it goes. So now we have this new window open, and let's see, well, it's introducing all the fake data and then clicking on submit. And well, we're doing this like 10 times. And after we do this, we're gonna see the results. All right, the automation was finished. And now let's make sure that all the data was sent correctly. So I go here to the edit mode, and now we see that we have 11 responses. And the first response was the fake data that I introduced manually, and the 10 remaining responses were introduced automatically by Selenium. So here I can click and see all the responses. So this is all the fake data that Selenium introduced. And well, we have all the fake emails and the addresses and phone numbers. And that's it. In this video, we'll learn how to automate forms with Python.